So Nathan, while I've got your expertise, in the room here at Play International, representing OPS, let's talk about 2XU. We've talked about Born Primitive and the quality of that gear and where it fits into training continuums and the expectations of the people that actually wear that gear. 2XU. So both of us have been wearing it for a long time. Both of us have worn it operationally as well as in the training context. Whether it was back in our days down in freezing cold Canberra, or whether it was in the Solomon Islands or overseas elsewhere, we've got there's a fair heritage there with the use. From an industry professional point of view, in that training spectrum, where do you see the true value in compression gear, and what's your actual, your true thoughts on 2XU?
Well, I think to answer the first part of your question is where do I see the value in compression gear generally? And I think you touched on the multifaceted application that any compression gear can provide, whether it's from the actual training phase, the recovery phase, or the operational phase. And that's the unique thing about a specialist workplace, tactical operations of any sort, whether it be military or whether it be police. You have an operational context that spans many, many different applications. And I think that is the versatility that a compression garment, a good compression garment offers is the true value in it, being able to hit all of those key areas. Where we start to channel in on a specific garment like 2XU, in many ways it's very much like Born Primitive, in that you've got quality that allows durability without the sacrifice of comfort. And I think for the operator, particularly when you talk about operational contexts, high humidity environments, where you're on your feet for extended periods of time, I think all of those aspects start to really play into optimal performance of the operator. Because if any one of those starts to compromise in any form or fashion, then you start to see a slight dip in operational output, whether it be through cognitive distraction because someone is now concerned about something else going on in their operational ecosystem, or whether it actually be an injury caused by heat, humidity, or friction.
One of the operational contexts where I used to wear it was under, combat uniforms, especially during the jungle, mainly in the short version, obviously to stop some of the chafing and, that inevitability when you go through a river crossing or something and you come out with wet pants at the other end. It's like I never went anywhere in that type of environment. And realistically, even when we're in the Middle East, running it as well, it's just like a compression garment that has so many uses. And realistically, even when we used to fly, and we're on the 20-hour flights from Australia through to whatever area we were going to be working in, that compression garment's really important in that phase.
I think having a durable, having a comfortable product like 2XU is absolutely critical in the operational space. And I think it's without question, from a recovery standpoint, that it offers true value to everybody. Whether it's General Duties Copper who's been on a 12-hour beat shift for responding to some sort of civil requirement, to special operations guys humping through mountainous terrain for 12 hours. The demands will still be the same. I think the impact will still be the same. And I think the requirements to actually have equipment like 2XU to aid in that speedy recovery process, particularly when you don't have an off-season, you've got to spin around quite quickly and then execute that same task again the very next day.
It's funny, comfort, you can talk about comfort and, some people go, well, harden up. But realistically, comfort is extremely important, right? It's you linked it to the main concern with it, and that's distracting you from what you should be doing. So if anything that's distracting you, even if it's just that temporary, that awkwardness of, a bit of discomfort, and your eyes are off the game, it's critically important that your gear isn't adding any burden to your day-to-day. In fact, it should be the opposite, where it should be, giving you a little bit more longevity. When you get home, you're not as damaged as what you would be without it.
100%. And then there's also the downstream effects. And this is something that academic researchers, particularly those at Bond Tactical Research Unit, quite often look at. It's the downstream effect and the downstream impact of poorly functioning equipment. And whether it be load carriage, whether it be a pack, whether it be a load-bearing vest, or anything of that description, if you continue to expose yourself to substandard equipment, or no equipment at all, and you just make do, you might suffer an impact that will have a downstream effect that will last you potentially the rest of your career, and then have an impact on operational capacity and capability, which then becomes an organisational issue. Might sound a little bit grandiose the way we're describing it, but the reality is that it can have an effect, both individually and organisationally. So I think if we address those issues at the front end with equipment that works, that's effective, and that's comfortable, I think we go a long way to mitigating a lot of those risks in the workplace.
Well, you know, like we always knew back when we were operational, those 1%ers are super important. So thanks, mate, for your time, and thanks for your insight on the brand. 2XU, once again, just head to the website www.legear.com.au or head down to one of the stores and grab yourself, some 2XU now.